Okay, we're good now. Let's go ahead and get going. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so did the board receive any communication or things they would like to, or not, or but things people they've heard from?
I had a parent share a screening guideline from another school.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, we'll move on to public participation on agenda items, and I know there is some in there. So I'm just going to remember that the following public comment was received by the district using the telecommuting public comment email address. For ease of public participation, it will be read into record by myself, and please make sure that this should not be construed as an endorsement of this comment by the district or by a position of the district. So let me get... So again, I just want to remind the public that you are welcome to email before the meeting, but we do pause throughout the meeting on the various topics, and we'll make sure if you do write in during the meeting and it comes under the topics that we're going to discuss later, that you those comments will be read at that time. So please continue to communicate with us. We're doing the best we can with the virtual meeting. Okay, so our first one is, Dear Board of Trustees and Superintendent Walker, I would like to add some items of consideration for the discussion item on tonight's agenda, 8.2.3, the hybrid model. It is of utmost importance that one of the primary stakeholders, the students, be given some regard when the proposals are being modeled and made. In my personal opinion, in the most recent hybrid proposal, the weight of the students' needs have been outweighed by others. The hybrid model that was proposed in this letter issued to the parents on 9/30/2020 needs to be reworked, particularly with the high school student model. I believe that the proposal that was drafted back in August was working off of information that will no longer be applicable to the situation that we will be facing when we are given the green light to return to school. The return to school will be allowed when Mendocino County has transitioned to the red tier, which means that the level of exposure and case positivity rate are at a level that is safe to return, deemed safe by the state of California and public health. That bears repeating, it will be deemed safe to return to the classroom by the state of California and public health. Parents that want to return to school in the hybrid model are comfortable with the safety protocols in place, social distancing, masking, and cleaning of each student work service as the safeguards for the student be able to move from class to class. All of these protocols are the same as when any one of us, parent, teacher, and or student visit any of the essential businesses in our community. Teacher-to-student educational contact is just as, if not more, essential and should be incorporated into the hybrid model to the maximum extent allowable by public health. I have been researching return-to-school models in California and other states. I have not found any high schools that are following the single cohort, one teacher contact model that is being proposed. All high schools researched are having students move from class to class and following masking, distancing, and cleaning protocols. If that is okay for all other schools, why is it not okay for our schools? What makes us any different? Are our students more resilient than other areas? Are they succeeding more than other areas? What are our students showing that they don't deserve the same teacher-to-student in-person contact than anywhere else? I would like to suggest that there be a plan in place for the transition to each tier. Each county transition from tier to tier should include a lessening of restrictions in the classroom as well. Moving to the red tier is the first step, and next we'll be moving to the orange and then to the yellow. I understand the difficulty in that, but the primary goal of all of the stakeholders should be the quickest return to normal as the change in restrictions allow. It is possible these transitions could be instituted prior to the end of the school year, and we should be prepared for that. If there is a need to transition back to hybrid learning, it will be easy. I believe that too much weight and fear is being put on the potential for that to happen. If it happens, it will not be anything new, as I'm a parent and I as a parent am willing to face that transition with a short term due to circumstances that may arise. We cannot continue to live in fear of the what ifs. We plan for them. We have the protocols to deal with them if they arise. Thank you for allowing those families and students that choose to remain on distance learning the ability to do so. This is their choice, just as the return to school for others is a choice. The great news is that we are not on an island. We are not doing this alone. It is safe for other schools and districts in the red tier. The science shows in bold, it will be safe for us. And 10.8, reopening. I know there has been much discussion about setting a future date of the return for school. The fact is that we cannot return to the classroom until we are allowed by the county and the state by the current method of colored tiering. I suggest that the board discuss what the need time frame for return to the classroom may be, i.e. the 2 weeks, and use that as the timeline for the return to school once we have transitioned into a new tier. There is no need to continue to push the date forward. The County of Mendocino and the State of California will determine when that will be. Thank you for your time, consideration, and dedication to all stakeholders in our district. Sincerely, Tina Rose. 10.8, reopening. Hello, hope you are doing well. I know I am not the only one wanting to reach out to you. It is time to go back to in-person education. The amount of damage being done mentally and possibly physically to some is more damaging and detrimental than any virus. I could encourage you all to look at our county statistics for the increase in teen pregnancies, teen STDs, teen abortions since March. Can you honestly tell me social distancing is working? Is the virus really more harmful than these facts? I have a good child. We have a nice home life. We have many opportunities many others lack. We have good internet. We have multiple computers to use when one crashes. I'm home all day offering guidance and support. My husband offers help at night for math. And we as a family are having challenging times with distance learning. We're so very fortunate to have Mr. Lang and Miss Me for Lane's teachers. They are doing a great job. However, Lane is struggling. Lane is falling behind even with help and support. He absolutely hates school. He asks us daily if he can just quit. He asked us to just homeschool him, and we have a good teacher and lots of resources. Education is one thing in this world everyone needs. It is the most important thing for our society to be able to survive, so why is it in jeopardy? Stated in the New York Times, China is offering in-person learning to 195 million students K through 12th grade, the same place the virus first emerged. They are practicing good hygiene and safety measures. According to the article, everyone feels safe and happy to be back. They also state that they have 51 students sitting 3 feet apart in their classrooms. Belgium and the Netherlands and other rural parts of America have all opened back to in-person education. My nephew lives in Placer County. He is going to school. It looks a bit different because he is receiving in-person education. To date, they have not heard of anyone in the school contacting the virus. I took a sizable pay cut so I could hire someone else to take my position while I'm at home with Lane. I can't imagine all of the families doing without. I fear for the children who are left at home alone. I fear far more for those kids who have no one to be their advocates. Those are the kids who are being damaged and harmed far more than we ever will know. Just a few years ago, educators disliked screen time. They had a great deal of concerns about the damage it causes to neurons in the brains. The same studies showed the damaging effects of screen time, not only to certain parts of the brains, but to vision as well. Now our kids are stuck in front of a screen with little movement for at least 4 to 5 hours a day, more if they have homework or resource classes. Let's work together to get our kids the education they deserve. Let's stand together and get them back in the classroom. I fear the damage being done from the shutdown and distance learning is far more damaging than any virus. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Stacy Anderson. This is 10.8 as well, reopening. Dear Superintendent Walker and Fort Bragg Unified School Board members, I will take this time to once again express my gratitude for all you are doing while working towards keeping our children and community healthy and safe. Here we are once again waiting for better results regarding COVID and trying to decide how best to move forward when allowed. I would like to remind this and stress the importance of representing everyone in this crucial decision while having the end goal of keeping all members as safe and healthy as possible. I will only speak for my family, but know there are many children who are actually doing quite well with remote learning. I have a sophomore daughter, my nephew who is a senior, and my active and very challenging 5-year-old who is a kindergartner, who are all doing well. This starts from a positive standpoint and constant reassurance coming from the adults in their lives. Both teens are earning high grades, and my daughter shows enthusiasm and pride for taking on the responsibility to adjust to the new challenges. I see better time management, I see confidence and motivation and hard work happening daily. I am not blinded by our experience and understand that many are struggling at remote learning. We all want to return to some kind of normal, but until then, we all must start to approach this challenge as positive as we can. Going back to the classroom will not be the same experience we all loved and want for our children. I feel allowing teachers to focus on one type of teaching rather than having children do remote learning from class and at home would be better for all involved. I would like to see remote learning continue and stop pushing for a return to the classroom until the number of COVIDs are under control. This would create a better education and a healthier learning environment. I will finish by giving a much needed thank you to our teachers of FBUSD. I know many teachers have read and heard the negative feedback from upset parents, and I want them to all know I see the dedication and time that is being spent before and after school to best meet the needs of our children. I think it is important to keep our children or teachers involved in the decision around going back to the class. After all, they are the link to our children's best education at this time. Together, we continue to get through this challenge while hopefully remembering that our main goal is to keep all involved healthy and safe. Sincerely, Gina Bellassi. And another 10.8 reopening. Dear President Babcock and members of the Fort Bragg Unified School District School Board, I fully support reopening our schools to in-person instruction as soon as we can. The survey shows you can support from the majority of families and send our students back to school. I have a student that is struggling severely with distance learning. It is extremely concerning. I know I am not alone. The families need a board that will advocate for what is best for our students' mental health and academic success. Please keep this in mind as you move forward with planning reopening. Thank you, Nancy Bennett. And there was blinking red at the bottom. Is they're trying to upload something new, or is that it, Anna? No? Okay.
No, nothing else.
Okay. All right. So again, please remember that you are welcome to write in during those same topics. Anna, they come directly to Anna's computer and she will let me know and I will stop and ask as well. So please continue to provide our feedback. I know I personally really do appreciate it. So thank you for writing in, families. I know it takes time out of your busy day. Okay. So that takes public participation. So the next one are reports. And the first one is the board report. So I'll open it up to our board members if they have anything, brief shout outs or any thing they like to share.
I'll just say that I went to a virtual Parents Club meeting for Dan Gray, and it seems like they're doing very well under the circumstances and trying to move ahead with a few projects. And that is about all I have to report.
I'll go. I attended the middle school Parents Club meeting, which went very well. Fundraising is their big issue right now without holding dances. And Laura Vera and I had a conversation on the phone. She said that they have sent out progress reports. They decided that they didn't always send out written, progress reports through the mail, but they really wanted the kids and families to know that these grades are counting. So, and they currently have the LPAC testing going on at the middle school. And that is all she had to report. And I've been reading lots of articles and doing webinars as are available.
I have also been doing a ton of reading and looking at other protocols from other districts, and I've been following the ethnic studies that there was a bill before the state for curriculum, and it was vetoed from Newsom, so I'm following that. And I also wanted to point out to the fellow board members, AB 992, Brown signed a bill regarding board members communicating on social media in the past that can be really turned into a serial meeting. So they've adjusted it a little bit so it's more clear if you're just pushing out maybe a press release from the school, that's okay as a board member. But I'm sure there's still, if I were to thumbs up a push out from Becky or from Kathy, that I don't know if that construes to be a serial meeting, but we should look into that and talk about it at a future meeting. And I also, from the last board meeting, I went to the Three Rivers Charter Schools virtual board meeting, and I enjoyed that, meeting the group. So that was my first that I attended. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone. I hope I don't forget anyone, but IT did a great website revamp. It looks wonderful. The counseling website is amazing. I think that is so fun. There's so many, you should just check it out. And with the new restructure of the website, it's easier to kind of focus on areas, and the libraries are doing great. Teachers are working really hard. I think of it as a production. When you're a parent of the Nutcracker, it looks pretty cool, when you're sitting in the chair, but there's so much that goes on behind to produce that, 5-minute scene. So I just think that no one has any idea the level of work that's being pushed out from teachers, and just the worry. They want to do the very best. Along with nutrition services, they rock. Custodial grounds, support staff. Even the rec center is helping us out with the continuity rooms. Counselors, transportation. It's amazing. So distant learning is working for kids, and some are still trying to figure out how it's going to work for them. So thank you for everyone's efforts.
Yeah, just in that notion, I haven't attended any meetings. I've been really busy working, but just want to thank everyone, parents, staff, administration, for doing the best you can during these times. I know it's not easy for anybody, and it's greatly admirable and appreciated. And also, I'm sure Becky will talk more about this, but I think there are some exciting Halloween activities coming up for kids. So yeah, just thanks everyone.
Okay, so I had the benefit of delivering cookies to the school sites on behalf of the board. And I know that several staff members took the time out of there, as Diana mentioned, a very, very packed full day to thank us. So it was very, I think maybe it was this morning in the board chat, Laura was talking about how there's some kids now on the campus at middle school. And so everybody flocks to them. Well, I got to go on campus. So it was Christmas to go and be on campus, and even though I came in masked and everything was individually wrapped, and I delivered the cookies, and it was really nice. Even just a few people, while I snuck in and set it on the counter and left. I went to the bus barn. I went to the teen lounge. The ladies were putting together super snack, I think, over there. And then I went to the 5 main schools. So it was a great little treat that I got to do. Becky and I have met with Mecca, and we're working also with Veronica Baser, and Becky and I met to work on a 5th grade Senate to do on our coastal schools, and include representatives from Point Arena, Mendocino, Three Rivers, and Dana Gray, I believe would be. Did they get them all? And so we're working on that. And then also I'm excited from the parent group that has been meeting for a couple months now. Bruce and Jamie and I are going to meet tomorrow. And I've got some ideas for the virtual learning team, kind of Senate, for them to work through some things there. So I'm excited to be a part of that. I think you can take people out of the schools, but I don't know if it ever goes away. So I'm excited to do that. Okay, so we'll move on to Becky's report.
Yay. So thank you all for being here today. Before I get to 8.2.1 and 8.2.2 and 8.2.3, I do want to echo what board member Trustee Schneider said about Halloween. This just came up, so that's why it's not in the agenda, but as part of my report, just verbally, we do have some Halloween festivities that we are partnering with Mendocino Coast Parks and Rec District in the city of Fort Bragg. It is in an effort to provide a safe Halloween fun kind of event without calling it an event for our children. We are looking at a maze where you stay in your car with your kids and you travel to the north. You travel east on Oak Street, you turn right on Dana, travel through the high school parking lot where you stop at 3 little stations, and you get candy that will be given to you by masked and gloved volunteers. And I even got spoons so that they can reach far without touching it. And then they travel to the south parking lot at Fort Bragg High School, where they get 3 more volunteers and 3 more stops. And then from there, they go to the Dana Gray parking lot, where they get 3 more volunteers and 3 more stops. And then they travel west on Chestnut until you get to Lincoln, make a right turn into the preschool roundabout parking lot there, where you get 3 more stops for much more candy. And then you keep moving along on Lincoln till you get to the Redwood bus stop. And you have 3 more opportunities to get more candy. And then you keep traveling on Lincoln until you get to Maple and CV Star. You turn into CV Star, and then a whole nother extravaganza is going to be in that parking lot. And then our kiddos and their families will exit on the Willow Street side of CV Star. But we're hoping that this provides a safe way for families to participate in some kind of Halloween event with their kids. We're encouraging volunteers to dress up, and Ann and I are trying to figure out what our costume is going to be. If we had a lot of money, it'd be fabulous. But it's interesting because we're starting to get a little too carried away with it. But it's all about seeing kids right now for us, and so we're excited for that. So,
Becky, can I
yes.
interrupt real quick? I would just have a question about that. I wanted to donate for the candy, and I sent to the city, and they sent me to the police department, who sent me to the sheriff's department, and still don't know where to send a donation.
I can talk to Monique Wooden. She's the one who's ordering the candy, but I have to tell you, I think there's a lot. But you can call Monique Wooden, and she's watching right now. Monique, if that's wrong, just send Anna an email or shoot me a text. But I think at MCRPD. And that's what I'm going to say for right now. But let me do some digging tomorrow, and I'll let you know, Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I will move on to my report. So one of the things that the board asked was about, and Monique says, yes, that's right. Call Monique at Mendocino Coast Parks and Rec. One of the things the board asked last month or the month before was about benchmarks and what we would be doing this year as a district in regards to benchmarks. So in your board packet, you have some FAQs, some bullet points about assessment this year for the state of California. There are 2 main tests happening for the state of California, and that's LPAC. We're in the middle of that right now. And then also the CASP testing. We are told at this point that the CASP test will not be waived because that's part of our federal requirements. So with that, we aren't sure how CASP is going to be administered. We are fairly certain it will probably be, we know it's going to be in an online format. Will it be from kids at home or kids on campus? That remains to be completely determinate on our tier for our county, but the CASP test will be moving forward. So with that, us as a district, how are we looking at assessment? Right now, for us in assessment in grades K through 8, we are going to rely very heavily on the iReady assessments. We are not going to be looking at our internal benchmark assessments this year because of the uncertainty between distance and in person. So we're really going to be focusing on the iReady assessments this year because of the fact we want to get to know that program better anyway. We want to give those assessments. We don't want to over test our kids. So we're going to be keeping with the iReady this year. That's what we are going to be reporting to you. And then the high school will be looking at their internal benchmarks for their specific coursework. So it's probably going to be a midterm and a final for them because they are only seeing 3 classes at a time. So it's difficult to judge one group off of another group. So the assessments for this year with Fort Bragg Unified, still going to be CASP, still going to be LPAC. K-8 is going to focus on the iReady assessments for language arts and math, and the high school will be doing their internal assessments, midterms, and finals. Questions on that? So if you're thinking you're going to see benchmark number 1 from us, benchmark number 2 from us, benchmark number 3 from us, it's not going to be that kind of a normal year. We will resume that normal reporting to you as a board when we are fully back and kids are in our hot little hands. Yes, Diana.
So finals for, is it the high school? will that be with the quarter? Because historically it's been around right before Christmas break. Is that going to be, are we doing that twice in a year? Or are we doing it 4 times?
So tomorrow is the last day of the first quarter, which means tomorrow is the last day of the first semester.
Right.
So kids are taking exams. Okay. So it's that, and then the finals that they'll get again in December. But right now we aren't, I'll be really honest with you, I'm not pushing for the high school to do huge reports on that, because they won't have all their kids. They'll have half of them. And because this is all brand new, I don't want them to feel that right now that's the accountability level. The accountability level right now is working with our students, getting our students through this, and getting ready for the CASP. And only the juniors take the CASP at the high school. LPAC, like I said, we're in the middle of that right now. So what I'm telling you, to be very blunt, very honest, is that the benchmarks are not going to be as structured and rigid as they've been in years past. And it's because of our circumstances. Questions on that? Okay, and moving on to 8.22. So 8.22, you asked about some attendance. And so I want to describe the codes to you so that you know what they mean. We took these codes right from the California Department of Education. And so when you see a 1, what you see is no contact. And when you see, and let's see. So what we are looking for on the attendance reports are how many students have hit an A1 level, meaning there's no contact for them for that day. We didn't get a hold of a parent. We didn't get a hold of the kid. We didn't have eyes on the kid. We didn't get any work. We got nothing. So 0 contact. And that's what you have in this attendance report right now. I will tell you that it has improved from the beginning, that some parents thought, okay, I'm taking packets, so I only need to talk to the teachers once a week. And that's not how it works. SB 98 says that we have to talk to the kid or the mom or the dad every day. And they have to be able to have interaction with their peers every day. The packet kids, we're doing the best that we can to provide some of that, but it's difficult. With our kids who come online every day, they have interaction with their peers, they have interaction with their teachers. So when a kiddo doesn't show up on screen, then what we are supposed to do is that at each of our sites, the teachers are supposed to fill out a referral form once they hit the second time that happens in a week. So when that happens the second time, it goes to the tier 1 of attendance reporting, which for most schools, it comes to the teacher calling home. If the teacher can't get a hold of anybody, then it goes to the next tier, which is, okay, the counselors are then going to call home. If that doesn't happen, then it goes to the next tier, which means the administration is going to do a home visit. We have had lots of home visits already. And most of the time, what we're discovering is that people aren't picking up the phone because they think it is our Aries All call. And so they ignore the call. Parent Squared has helped that immeasurably because it doesn't do any more calls. You either get an email or a text message, and phone calls are reserved for real emergencies. So that's kind of helped that a little bit. So I'm pleased about that. And let me just say out loud to all of our parents, if you do not have the Parent Square app, please get it. It's how we pass out our information right now. It's easy. It comes on your phone. It's super simple. You will stop getting the phone calls. My husband is over the moon happy that he doesn't get the phone calls anymore. So, but with that, we have these 3 tiers. So what you see in front of you is the number of students and how many inactives we've had and how many A1s we've had. So we are seeing an improvement. It's a bit of a hit and miss sometimes, but we find our offices chasing attendance like crazy. Is there any questions for me? Okay. Moving on. Kathy, are you okay with me moving on? Okay, moving on to 8.2.3, it is about the hybrid model. So back in July, when we started talking about our hybrid model, I sent to our public health officer, at the time it was Dr. Duhan, I sent to her our reopening plan for a hybrid model with A and B days. At the time, with what we knew, that made the most sense. Now that we have had kids back in a distance learning model, we are discovering that if teachers, at least in the K-8 world, have to teach to kids in person and have kids online, that could be a little tricky. I think our high school teachers could probably handle that better than most. But it depends on who you talk to. But regardless, what we are discovering right now is we want to get the biggest bang for our buck, I guess is what I want to say. And so there are two models on here that we are considering right now. The AB days, which is what I gave you in July, which was Monday, Tuesdays. The A kids would come from 9 to 1. And then on Thursday and Friday, the B kids would come from 9 to 1. And Wednesdays, everybody would be doing what we're doing right now. So that's one consideration. The next consideration is a 5-day-a-week model where we have the AM kids come from 9 to 11. Then we take a 2-hour and 20-minute break so that we can disinfect the rooms. And then the PM kids would come from 1:20 to 3:20. The reason why that model is being considered is because it would eliminate the teaching online and teaching to kids live at the same time. It would also shorten the time span that kids are on campus. And then it would allow us as their teachers and as the educational hub of our community to have eyes on kids 5 days a week. So no decisions have been made at this point. I just want to bring it to your attention. This is what we're looking at. We're asking the leadership teams to look at this. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be a unanimous thing. This is not even going to be a vote. This is about input. So we're asking people for input. We're asking people for feedback. Then what's going to happen is we're going to take all that feedback, all that input, and then we're going to look at what's best for kids and then come to a decision. When we come to a decision, we'll then consult our union representation for both classified and certificated to see if there's anything in our MOU that needs to be renegotiated. And then once we get to a place where we get an agreement for that, it'll come to you as a board. Is this going to happen fairly quickly? Yes, because I'm not going to belabor what kind of model we're going to go back to. And I think folks need a decision made. So again, we're asking for input from our leadership teams, from our sites, and then we'll make a decision based on what's best for kids and what would work best for our staff. The hard part, again, is I'm going to be really clear. We're not going to get 100% people on board with any one of these. The only way we're going to get people 100% on board is when it's time for us to go back all together and the threats of COVID being deadly are significantly reduced. So for right now, I'm just showing you these two plans so that it's completely transparent on what we're talking about. I would guess to say that when we come to the next board meeting, I'll have more to show you with more details. Any questions on this? Yes, Diana.
I just want to clarify. So the consideration one is really offering a continuity room. The child would sit in a room for 4 hours.
What do you mean by continuity room? You mean like the internet room?
They're accessing internet there because they don't have live instruction.
Okay, tell me which, are you talking about?
Number one, AB day.
So it depends on what grade level you're talking about. In grades K through 8, they're all with one teacher.
Okay.
So in grades K through 8, it would mean on AB days, half the kids come for the A days, and they would receive live instruction from their teacher, while the B kids would be participating online while the teacher is teaching, or they would have a time in the classroom where the teacher would provide some online interaction for all the kids. And those days might be asynchronous as well. But there'll be a mixture of that because they'll be with kids from 9 to 1. Okay. In high school right now, they would have two cohorts. They would have an A cohort and a B cohort. So for high school on the AB model, they would be in their class and receive, I believe, live instruction from their first period teacher, or they would be with their virtual learning teacher. We haven't nailed that model down completely. And then their other classes would be asynchronous and the teacher could help. The discussion that I'm hearing right now is that then that would rotate every 2 weeks to see the next group of kids. And then on the B days, they would see the other half of their class, but only two cohorts. Just like our elementary kids, two cohorts per teacher.
So the high school will be sitting in a room from 9 to 1 with a teacher, and then the other 3 days they'll be distant learning.
Yes.
And then every 2 weeks they'll catch up. So the beauty of it, what's nice about the high school, is that they do have a block schedule, which is nice. So they don't have 6 classes to rotate through. So this is not a rotation, and this isn't even seeing all the core teachers. They only have 3 core, or 2 core and science or Spanish or some elective.
And let me clarify, right now the talk is not that they're going to have that class for 2 weeks and stay with that teacher for live instruction for 4 hours. That could be a model that they could entertain. We haven't gone that far yet.
And then my last, so yeah, there's totally needs to be more detail, because the other consideration is helpful that it's 5 days. But I think not knowing when these will take place, because we don't have the power to say what tier we're in with the state, it'd be nice to have, speaking with leadership and everyone that you're speaking with before it comes to the board, to have a tiering system that coincides with what the sites will be offering, so that families can see what's coming next. Like when the state says we're in red, this is what the model is going to look like, and we're going to have a choice to stay, distant learning like we're doing, or we're going to do whatever that model is, along with the orange and the yellow, just so folks know, the changes that can be made ahead of time, instead of we're waiting patiently. But I think that having a plan and having a discussion about all of those stages ahead of time at once might help.
So I've been working with the county on that, because I've asked for some clarifying information, and right now it's been difficult to get that back, only because I'm asking a tough question. And when you read the tiered information from the county that they put out, red tier is a hybrid model. Orange tier is that you can come back 5 days a week. Well, we are well within our guidelines to be able to come back 5 days a week in the red tier under this model of 2 hours for the AM, 2 hour break, 2 hours for the PM. But that's not specifically delineated in the red tier information that the county and that our county and our county office of ed put out. So I asked the question, if we want to come back as a 5 day a week program, how does that differ when we go into the orange tier? And that's been the hiccup. I talked to Kim Kern this week, and she said, Becky, that's a really good question. We're trying to figure that out, because there are other schools who are proposing returning to a 5 day a week AM PM shift model for their hybrid model that our county public health officer had approved back in July. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out, okay, if we go to a 5 day a week, how then can the restrictions be lessened when we go to orange? And how can I expand that? And I haven't been able to get that answer yet. So for right now, what I can tell you is that if we do a 5 day a week plan, then it's very limited. It's only 2 hours in the morning for our AM kids and 2 hours in the afternoon for the PM kids. There's a 2 hour break in the middle for cleaning. And that is enough time to use our electrostatic sprayers to clean the classes. And someone had said to me, well, Becky, that's a whole lot of chemical. It's exactly the same chemical we use right now. It's exactly the same disinfectant that we use right now. And the difference is that you wouldn't even be using as much as we're using now, because the droplets are electrostatically charged, so they adhere to surfaces. Bruce Triplett said that he worked with one of the custodians to spray a classroom to see how long it took and to see what it looked like. He said it took about 2 minutes to do the classroom, and then you walk out, you can leave the door open or not, and then you have to let the classroom sit for 10 minutes. But it's exactly the same disinfectant that we've been using in all of our sites, and I want to say for the last decade. So it's nothing new that we're putting out there. So what's the question? The question is, what's the difference between the red and the orange tier? For right now in these models, I'm trying to get that information so we can prepare something like that so parents can see what the differences are in our tiers. Like I said, I spoke to NCOE this week, and I couldn't get a delineation on red and orange in a 5 day model. So I'm working on that. thank you for.
Anna, is there any public comment?
Yes, I have one public comment regarding Becky's announcement about Halloween, and Monique got back to us and said that they are taking donations of candy. They have ordered a lot, but they think they're still going to be short. They're also asking for people to decorate their vehicles when they drive around, and also they are looking for volunteers to help in the CV Star parking lot, hand out the candy there. And if anybody's interested, they can call Monique Wooden at 964-9446, extension 202.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off, Becky, if you had more.
Oh, no, I'm glad you remembered public input. So I wanted to just present these two considerations for you, and that's why in the packet it says consideration. And someone's probably going to say, well, I thought we already made this decision. We made a decision in July, but the reason why we are rethinking the decision is because after opening school and doing distance learning and looking at the amount of work that this takes, I want to make sure that we are providing a model that is doable for our staff. And also, let me be really clear, what's best for kids? Because I love the idea of having eyes on kids 5 days a week. But again, we're seeking input right now. It's a consideration. No decisions have been made.
Okay.
Any questions on this? Oh, sorry.
That's what I was going to ask.
So I just, let's see, what are my other notes? So it looks like the MOU will have to be looked at as well, because right now the cohorts show that there's no rotation for high school. So I just want to clarify that.
But the MOU would need to be revisited for the hybrid model AB days because they're rotating every 2 weeks. So, and I know Sarah's on the line, but they're still maintaining the same number of cohorts. They're rotating all of it in 2 weeks. And so they would still go back to 2 cohorts for those 2 weeks.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I understand that matches the MOU. And then the attachment that, did you want to speak on that? There's actually, or is that a second? Is that attached?
That's the screening guide.
Oh, the screening guide. So this actually, Diana sent us a copy of this. Thank you, Diana. And so this is what we have on our website to kind of help parents determine, do I send my kids to school? Do I not send my kids to school? And this is what we're going to be asking parents to do every morning before they send their kids to school.
So I just want to clarify that a parent forwarded this to me, so it wasn't my finding, but I shared it with you. And I just, maybe on this form, it's not clear if you have one of these symptoms, if you have a sore throat, how does a child get back to school? You know, what's the process there? And that's not really on here. It might be nice to add that.
Okay. And by our own protocols is that before a child or a staff member returns to school, they need to be symptom-free for 72 hours. So what does that mean mathematically? If I come to school on Monday or I'm at home on Monday and I have a scratchy throat, and then on Tuesday, so I stay home on Monday. So then on Tuesday, I still have a scratchy throat. I stay home on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I wake up, I have no scratchy throat. So 72 hours would be 3 days. Wednesday would be day 1, Thursday would be day 2, Friday would be day 3. If I still have no scratchy throat on Saturday, Sunday, I can go back to school on Monday.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? Okay. Thank you, Becky, for your report. And I would like to take,
Sorry. I just want to clarify. So this will come back probably the next regular meeting in November. So we'll have time to really figure out what this looks like.
Yes.
Yep.
And I anticipate this is going to move just a little quicker so we can have some answers. We'll gather input, like I said, we'll make the decision. Once the decision is made on what model we'll do, and once we've worked it out with our bargaining units to make sure that everything in our MOU for both bargaining units is addressed with whatever model we have, then what we'll do is we will send out, before it comes, we'll have it come to you, you'll bless it, hopefully. If you bless it, then I need to take it to public health for them to bless. And then we will be doing a survey for our parents to find out if parents want their kids to remain in distance learning full time, or if they want them back, so that we can make sure that we understand the capacity of the schools on those days.
Okay. So then, just to clarify, then that would be attached to the action item, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what Diana was going with there. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So now I want to have the pleasure of introducing our new student representative. So we have Zaid Baser with us tonight, and I should have gotten a formal introduction, Zaid, but I'm going to say a few things about you that I know. So he's a freshman at Fort Bragg High School. He is very involved in school. I know he was a web leader and a student athlete at the middle school. So we're very excited to have him on our as a board member, and I think he has a report for us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself further, please feel free.
Okay, thank you. For Dana Gray report, they said overall everything's doing great. They are moving forward with learning in the virtual classrooms. They are excited that their library is now completely online and can be accessed through the district website. By clicking the link online library website, books from the Dana Gray Library will be put on hold, then picked up and returned at the front of the school. And they want to remind all parents and students that every Friday is Blue and Gray Day. During virtual class meetings, students will be asked to wear their school colors on Friday to get points for every weekly most spirited class for each grade level. As a school, they are celebrating Red Ribbon Week 2020. During the last week of October 26th to October 30th, this year theme will be happy, be brave, and be drug free. Each day during virtual class, they will be having dress up days for students, all class and grade level competitions. Middle school said student council elections are this week. Progress reports were mailed home last week. ELPAC tests are in progress. And the Fort Bragg Middle School Parents Club meeting was on a Wednesday evening. And high school said grading period for the first semester ends Friday. ASB elections just happened at the high school. There are a few open positions that students can still apply for interest. Please check out the Fort Bragg High School website for updating information. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Zaid, for taking on this commitment and for joining us. And I do have to say, you look very sharp. So thank you for joining us tonight. And we'll see you next month. Okay. 8.4, I think we have several people on the call today for big picture learning. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to Principal Belli.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. So thank you for having us. We are excited to have several people here to talk about big picture learning. We had our coach, Lauren, and I will butcher his name. So let's just call him Lauren. He's based out of Seattle. And he has been invaluable to us as far as helping us guide, wade through the fog. And big picture learning is really about student driven learning. And so the kids steer their own ship, so to speak. Everything they learn is through the lens of what is interesting to them. And it's real world learning. They eventually will hopefully go out on internships in the community. And we started doing this a little bit last year, and we have jumped in full tilt boogie this year. And we just finished our first quarter with Big Picture. And I don't want to take a long time to talk about it, but what it is each teacher is called an advisor. They have a group of kids that stay with them through their entire time at our school. And so there's a real close relationship between the advisor and the students. And they learn a lot about themselves. They learn a lot about what is interesting to them. And then they choose projects to work on. And they then do what are called exhibitions. And so exhibitions are presenting what they've learned or presenting, where they're at in the process. And we just finished exhibitions today, actually. And so we have Eric Forrester, who is one of our new teachers. I think he's there. There he is. There's Eric. And he's going to say a few things. And then we have two students who I'm really excited about. Michael Perez, and he just finished his exhibition this week, as did Csca, or Joseph Shaw, but he goes by Jay. And so they're going to speak a little bit about what the process is, how they liked it. We had another young student who was also going to present, Mackenzie Bowman. And unfortunately, she couldn't make it, but she's here in spirit. And Gary Lewis is there somewhere, and so is Carla Leach as, cheerleaders. So I think I'll start. Eric, why don't you say a few words?
Sure. This year has been an amazing start. I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it here because I'm hearing you talk so eloquently about it, Connie. I've been doing continuation in high school for 6 years now, and we're used to seeing kids not engaged with their work, not happy with school, and just not into the process at all. And just this quarter, I've been seeing so much more engagement, so much more meaningful work than I ever have. And there was a day when I walked home for lunch, and I didn't even feel my feet walking. I was just so happy with the work that we were doing, the conversations that we were having, and it's totally revitalized my passion for teaching. And I thank Connie every day for hiring me and telling me that we were going to do a change, and that this change is happening. And I'm really proud of my two students too that are going to talk today. It's been a great change, and I know there's a lot of opportunities that are going to come with this in the future. And the kids see that sky is the limit too. It's just hearing about some of the things that are going to happen, like a possible flight school for kids in the future. And they can do anything in the community that they want to do for credits. And they're going to learn real world learning right now. Freshmen are learning adult stuff. And we know that these kids typically are disengaged because they want the real world learning. They're out there surviving with their real world learning right now, right? So this is giving them the skills to take what they're already doing and to go further and to prepare them for adulthood in a whole new way. And it's just been really exciting to take part of, to create. I know we're going to grow because of this. I know this is going to be a place that kids want to come to eventually. And I'm really happy to be a part of that. So thank you guys.
Thanks. Thank you, Eric. And I know Carla might not have wanted. Carla, why don't you say one or two things? Or three or four?
You're muted, Carla.
Okay, did it work? Okay. Thought it worked the first time, it didn't. Anyhow, I would just say ditto to everything Eric just said. It has revitalized how I feel about my career, about my life. The students' work they're doing in this time of disengagement. Our students are engaging. It's incredible. And I'm loving it. And for anybody that might say they're, okay, but wait a minute, this doesn't sound like you're doing any academics. Actually, it's very academic because all of their learnings is connected. You know, we're helping them connect the dots. Oh, you want to become a chef? Connie was giving an example earlier about becoming a French chef. You know, well, guess what? You got to learn math to do measurement. You know, so it is, you know, academic. It is creating, but it's creating it through the learning process and through their own personal interests. And so it's really incredible and life-changing.
Thanks. And so there you see on the screen Csca, and he gave this incredible exhibition earlier this week. And so, Jay, why don't you tell them a little bit about what you think of this different process, I guess we call it.
This process has been really, really fun for me. I've been able to express who I am and find out who I am internally and figure out, you know, what I want to do in the future. And it's just been a really fun process with Eric and Connie and Carla doing circles and stuff. It's been a really fun opportunity for me. And it's different because I don't have to just sit in a classroom all day and be quote unquote bored, but I can interact with people and just be able to be who I am. And it's just, it's a really fun process. In my exhibition, it was a home run. I loved it. And the questions they were asking me, I hit them solid, and it's just been a really, really fun time for me to interact with my peers and my teachers. And I'd like to say thank you and for having me here. And that's it.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, he's rocking it. The other person here is behind that picture is Michael Perez. Are you there, Michael?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can we see your shiny face for a second?
I guess.
We don't have, I mean, you don't have to, but you know.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Okay, why don't you explain to them how this process has been for you and what you like about it as opposed to traditional school?
Well, like Jay said, for me, it's just been a really fun process, and I like how it's just centered around what I want to do. Yeah, it's just fun, like he said. I'm sorry. I think Jay just summed it up pretty good. It's a fun process. I like interacting with my peers too, and just, yeah, that's all I got to say.
Okay. Did you find it hard?
No, I didn't. I think, like Jay said, to quote him, I hit them solid.
Okay, that is true. That is true. I don't know. These guys are, this is a big win for us and for them to, come before you, the school board. And so I want to thank them again for doing it. I don't know if you guys have questions. Gary Lewis is here too, in there, back there somewhere. But I don't know if you have questions for them, questions for me, or, we're just so incredibly proud of the what they have all done. And
I have a big picture question for either one of the young men. And maybe I'll start with you, Jay. Big picture question. How do you know that you nailed it? How do you know you rocked it? What told you that you did that?
Well, just based on the fact that everyone was interacting with me in a positive direction and body language and stuff like that, and just the fact that my parents loved what I said.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much the same. Just like the way people like presented themselves to me, and like the way I felt from it. I felt like I accomplished something. So yeah.
Right on. Gary, are you there in the dark? Do you wanna add anything, Gary?
I am here. I'm not sure there's a whole lot I can add that what Eric said, except maybe that, from my perspective, my class this year consists of students that I've worked with and known for several years now, some of them all the way back to when they were in middle school and they're seniors now. And this is really the first time that they have been consistently, enthusiastically engaged in what they're doing. They're smiling, they're showing up at 9 o'clock every morning, every day. They're coming at it with actual questions. It's not just sitting there and forcing them to do things. They're reaching out and wanting to explore further than what they need to. They're going above the basic requirements to pass. Like, they're engaging on a personal level. And so that's been a real treat to see, because, they're kids that I care a lot about. I've spent a lot of years with them, and to see them excelling like they're doing, as Eric said, it's made this year feel real special. And I think with as difficult as 2020's been, it's been a real treat to kind of have this boost and know that we're heading in a really good direction. I think we're going to have a lot of amazingly successful graduates coming out of the program over the next few years.
Yeah. Thanks. And so I don't know if you guys have questions. I wanted to add one thing that a lot parents are encouraged to come to the exhibitions. And so in the first exhibitions Eric had, the parents all showed up on as part of the group. So that was really heartwarming too, to see. So I don't know who to guess. Diana.
Yes, I know. Sorry. I want my hand up. So thank you for sharing. This is a really touching, engaging program. And I'm just wondering, I have two questions. How did you find it? And will this go to other sites? Will this reach other sites in our district?
We found it actually, this woman who is Holly Sheehan, and she is part of Big Picture Native American Initiative. And she came to talk to me about talking to our students about it. Her mom is Susan Mader, who did Poets in the Schools for a long time and had come up to Noyo years ago. And so Holly just happened to be coming to talk about something else and started talking about Big Picture. And it sounded really intriguing. So Gary and I went and visited one Big Picture school in Ukiah. Their continuation school, South Valley, is a Big Picture school. And that's how we started. Whether or not it goes to other sites, that's not my,
let me kind of jump into that one. First, I have to say that talk about right time and right place. Mm-hmm. All the planets have aligned for Alt Ed so beautifully. From Eric coming on board, and I know to transitioning to Big Picture, and I know that Alt Ed is going to continue to grow and get better. What I appreciate about this program is that it's really looking at our alternative ed side and making it a true alternative ed, not a community day school, a continuation school. No. This is a true alternative program. And the camaraderie and the close relationships that our teachers are able to build with students in this tight-knit group is nothing short of wonderful. So is this going to expand to other schools? Not right now, because our other schools are comprehensive sites. They're a traditional school setting within the departmentalized setting for grades 6 through 12. When we return full time, my hope is that alternative ed actually begins to grow and expand. That we are looking at kids who want to come to alternative ed because it's an alternative ed, not because they have to, not because they're feeling like, well, I'm credit deficient, I've got to do this or I'm not going to graduate. So Connie and I have been having discussions for the last several years about how we could change it so that it doesn't look like the expulsion site or the community day school or the continuation school. And I have to tell you, everything has just really done this where it's all come together. The staff is amazing. Carla coming on board and being, this champion counselor that they really need and trust. And the beauty of it is that many of them have been working with Carla since they were babies, because Carla's been in our school system for the last 20 years. So things have just been naturally coming together. And then here comes Eric. I mean, we hardly ever get applications for alternative ed. And we're like, who's this guy? And I'm really sad that Paradise burned down, but I'm telling you, Eric coming to us was a blessing. So everything just really kind of aligned. And Gary walked into my office one day looking for, a job years ago, and that aligned. And so everything with alt ed has really been coming together. It's an exciting time for the schools. I'm really thrilled that they found Big Picture when they did, because I have to tell you that the kids at alt ed needed this shot in the arm. This is absolutely what they need at this time right now to keep them going. And it's interesting because Connie and the team have said, our attendance is fabulous. And it's been great. Kids are logging in, they're staying logged in, they're working with their teachers. They're much more excited about what they're doing because it's personalized. So I'll shut up now, but I just have to say how proud I am to be able to watch this with the team and to see what they're doing and just the support that the kids need and this level of education that they're getting right now. It is the glue that's keeping them together in a very stressful time. So I really appreciate the extra mile that the staff has been going. It is wonderful. And then the last thing I'm going to say is I'm so happy to see children on this meeting. We're just missing kids so badly. I'm so excited to see Zaid and be able to see Jay and Michael. It's just fantastic. This is what we have a baby. Okay, I'll stop. I'll mute and I'll fawn over the children. But thank you all for being here. This is why we do this work. We don't do this work because we enjoy policy and because we enjoy paperwork. We do this work because the most important things in our lives are our kids. You are our future. You are the reasons why we breathe, why we live. This is why we do this work. So I want to thank you all for being here today, because in this land of COVID, it is really hard not seeing kids every day. And I wait outside my window every day for the little internet room, our kudos room, to just march by, because it's the March of the Ducklings. I love it and it brings me joy. And when we've got little kids playing out from the CB Star and they're taking breaks from their mamas, we just all fawn at the window to trying to look at them a little bit closer. So thank you folks for being here today. Good job, Connie and the team, Eric, Gary, Carla. I know Emily's working super hard. Yep. And Becca is still staying in touch because she's doing things too. So I think you're all doing a great job. It came at a perfect time, and I'm so thrilled that we're moving in this direction.
Thanks. And Mary, I think you had something. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you could give us an example of what an exhibition, what kind of stuff do they talk about? And then are there peers watching as well when they present?
So Eric or Gary or Eric? Gary?
Yeah, sure. So the exhibitions are meant to talk about whatever they learned. So it could be a variety of different things that they decided to learn each quarter. And the idea is that they know what they learned so much that we can ask them anything about it, because that was their passion or their interest to learn about. So the questions revolved around that primarily. And I'm sorry, what was the other question?
Oh, I just wondered if their peers got to watch them present their
Right. So that was one thing we realized after the exhibition's over that we should be doing. And so we're going to put that into the next piece every time. And students will be sending out their own Google invitations for the meetings and stuff.
Cool.
I think Emily already had her kids doing that, but we will be asking whatever peers to join, of course, more parents and the rest of the panel at our school. But yeah, we want to have peers, and that was something we felt like we should have done. And we're learning, so we'll get there.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
They also do art, especially with the Who Am I project, artistic stuff. And really the Who Am I is about learning who they are and what their interests are. So there's a lot of different pieces to that puzzle.
Okay.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm excited. I'm thrilled. My teachers are working really, really hard. So shout outs to them. And Carla is, working hard, and Lauren has been instrumental to helping us. And actually, I don't know if Jay and Michael that you joined, but our kids are also actually joining in Zoom meetings with kids from India and Italy and Kazakhstan and Eric.
Yeah, we just did that today in my class. We had kids from India, kids from Oregon and Washington. There was some people from Italy, and we can do this every Thursday if we want. My kids elected to do it once a month, but they get a lot out of all the various interactions, and they get to talk about their passions and interests too with them. And it's really interesting how much we have in common being so far away, and they get to see that, which I don't think that they would have had a chance to see that in any other way.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a shout out to the teachers too, because Emily and Eric and Gary and Becca on the side here, they've been taking this curriculum and they've been getting curriculum from all these different big picture schools. They've been cleaning it. They've been synthesizing it. They've been creating their own documents. I mean, it's the work that they've put in is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thanks, guys. And shout outs to all the kids too.
Connie, just before we stop,
yes,
putting a plug out there to the community, right? It's something that we haven't been able to start yet because of the current environment, but a big component going forward is going to be the real world learning off campus, internships, shadow days, that kind of stuff. And so in the coming months, we're going to be really looking to try to connect with community members that can support us and provide opportunities for the students to get out there and learn truly in the real world. So if you're watching and you're interested, we are here and looking for partners.
Yeah.
See Belli at fbusd.us.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so any other questions?
Nope, you're taking my job, Connie.
Oh, sorry.
Anna, do we have anything from the public?
We have nothing from the public.
Okay. I do want to take a moment just to give a shout out to Jay and Michael for coming on with this big group of adults.
Yeah.
You were both very articulate, and I was quite impressed with your speaking. So good job, all to Ed and the two students, because without you, the program wouldn't be as successful. So good job, you guys.
Thank you, guys. I think they can go. Is that? Okay.
Yeah, and we'll take a break here after the next two reports too. And everybody that would like to take a moment to go, we'll do that too. So just one more. Any other questions or comments for Big Picture Learning? Well, thank you very much. I know your time is precious, and we do appreciate the good stuff. We love having the reports about what's happening on campuses and to see students. So thank you very much for your time too.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Anna, I believe at one time there was someone on here that looked not somebody that's normally here, but now they're gone. Did we miss?
Was that Lauren?
It might be Lauren.
Big Picture Learning. Okay. He was here for a while.
Okay, sorry.
He was cooking dinner for his parents.
Okay, sorry we weren't faster. But please thank him, Connie, for coming.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Pat.
right. All right, so we will move on to 8.5, CSEA report. Do we have anybody from CSEA?
No, they did not submit a report.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to FBDTA. Do we have an FBDTA report tonight?
Yes. Good evening.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, it's good to see all of you. First, I just want to say how nice it was to follow that report. That's like I don't know, an example of why I feel proud to be part of FBUSD is just, for the district to embrace a program like that and the effort of the alt-ed team to go ahead and take it on. So that's wonderful. Thank you. So FBDTA just has a short message of appreciation tonight. We teachers have been, as I think you all have really kindly recognized, teaching their heart out, and but we also wanted to recognize the people who are supporting us in that process, and just to know that we see your efforts and really appreciate it. So the community, as far as like the Children's Fund, who always has supported our students and families, but really have been so available to meet the needs of students during this time, and the parents clubs that are continuing to get together to create experiences for the students and the schools. So we really appreciate them. Of course, the families and the caregivers of the parents that we see on the other side of the screen daily, managing the technology issues and helping their children through the process. So know that we see you and we so appreciate your efforts. And of course, our classified staff who just hold our district together. The nutrition team is doing such absolutely amazing work. Custodians, the office staff, and everyone, instructional aides, everyone who's keeping the operation of our schools running. And of course, our administrators who we know are working endless hours and are fielding all kinds of new challenges. And we wanted to know that we appreciate you. And our board of trustees who I see having really thoughtful discussion and considering different points of view and making efforts to stay in touch with the sites and understand what's happening, even though we're in this disconnected /disconnected world. So yeah, thank you on behalf of the teachers. We appreciate you. We appreciate the community for supporting our students, and that's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
And Sarah and Gary have been putting in a whole lot of hours. It's interesting. No one signs up to be in a leadership position when you have no idea that a pandemic is on the horizon. And none of us have any practice with this. So we are all doing the best that we can in a very weird situation. And one of the things that I've said to our administrators and to all of you is that this is so temporary. We have to be able to get on the other side of this and still be able to smile and hug each other again. And we're not going to get 100% support on anything, but we just have to keep what's best for our students at the forefront of our decisions and the health and safety of our staff and families and kids, all of that. So thank you, Sarah and Gary, for being willing to take some of my crazy calls and my crazy comments and giving me the grace and patience to apologize and move forward. So thank you for your hard work. I know this has not been easy on any of us.
Thank you, Becky.
And thank you, Sarah, very much for coming. That's a nice shout out to the community and your colleagues. So it's nice to see you and have you join us tonight with such a nice message.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to assume there's no public comment.
There's no public comment.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we are done with our official reports. I'm going to pause for a moment I know it's late and staff needs to get ready for school tomorrow. If anybody would like to go, Zaid, it would be a great time if you need to go do homework or anything else. Thank you again so much for joining this role and coming on our team. We really appreciate that. And we just want to thank everybody for working hard and giving up an hour and a half of your evening tonight for us. So we'll pause for a moment and let those go if they choose. And look, we all got bigger. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Kathy, for that break.
You're welcome. Is everybody okay as far as we'll keep going? Okay. All right. So we're on to the consent items. These are routine and non-controversial items. And so unless anybody had an item that we needed to remove or for discussion, I think we can call for an approval of the consent items.
I move to approve the consent items.
Thank you, Diana. And a second, Mary?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? All right. So moved. All right. So we are going to move on to our board action items. We have several. I don't think any of them are. Anyway, the first one is 10.1, the academic calendar. We have had this on several meetings. As we know, there is not too much difference. The main difference is between moving the extra snow day / electricity shutoff day from the day right after spring break to the week following. Are you laughing at my description, Becky?
I love it. That's what we need to call it, not a snow day, the no power day. That's what we need to call it. So, yes.
Oh, any public comment or anything you've gotten, Becky, in the meantime from the last meeting?
So from the last meeting, I asked ADCO, I said, look, the board's going to want a recommendation from us. What do we think? And, I gave everybody in our grid at ADCO a thumbs up, thumbs down, and a couple people didn't care. But I have to tell you, the two versions are super similar. The only thing that's different is where that non-power day, snow day, goes. And it's our recommendation that we pick the calendar where the snow day, the non-power day, is not connected to spring break, so that folks don't get the misinformation that that day is actually part of a break, because really it's not. If we don't have to use the snow day, then yeah, everybody will get that day off. But if we have to use it, we're going to need people to work. So we need folks to have their plane tickets back in time to get that to work. So the recommendation from ADCO is that option 2 with the extra day on April 25th makes the most sense to us. But you as a board get to vote on whatever you want. And if it doesn't work out that way, both options still work.
Okay, I'll go first this time. And that is the note that I made, is that I'm worried about people putting it into an automatic travel day. And so I was leaning towards option 2 as well. So other board members can share.
And I really am like this, but I understand more from this. It's more from the staff perspective, is what you're saying. If on the day of the 25th, that they could lock it in as a vacation if it was attached to spring break.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So I'm in favor of 2, so it supports staff and kids.
I agree.
Not a super controversial calendar this year. Everything kind of worked out pretty easily.
So I'll make a motion to adopt option 2 as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, Anna.
Okay. Trustee Makela?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
President Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yeah.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 10.2, we have a memorandum of understanding between the Fort Bragg Unified School District and the Mendocino Coast Recreation and Parks District. I think it's routine and non-controversial.
No, it's pretty straightforward. We just need to have a current one on file.
Okay, and there weren't any major changes, correct? Okay. All right, any questions?
So I just wanted to clarify, because I thought we had, is this the same type of agreement that we did maybe a year ago, but it was more about dollar, like splitting, who's Fort Bragg Unified staff and who's the rec center staff. So that doesn't really go in to dollars here. This is more about paperwork and the divide of the day-to-day stuff. Is that correct?
And here's the beautiful thing. Our after-school programs no longer, let me put it this way. Our after-school programs are now fully funding themselves. And Monique Wooden has really helped make that happen, so we appreciate that. And she brought this to my attention because we just hadn't had it done, so we just need to get it. It's kind of a routine MOU that we have every year. But the beautiful thing is that our after-school programs are now living within their means within the grant. So thank you, Monique, for all your hard work with what you do for us with the after-school programs.
So I'll move that we approve the MOU with MCRPD and FBUSD.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mary and Scott. Is there any discussion? And I didn't have a chance to ask, but no public comment, correct?
No public comment.
Okay. So any discussion? All right, Anna, take it away.
Okay. Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Matson?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Okay, so we're at resolution 18 or 20 oh my goodness, it's not even that late yet. 20-18, intend to enter into a joint use agreement with Mendocino Coast Recreation and Park District. I'm assuming same thing, routine.
So this is about facilities and yes, we just don't have a current one on file.
And no major changes from before? Okay. All right, any questions for staff?
No.
Okay. All right, nothing from the public? Okay, thanks, Anna.
So
okay, then I'll call. Oh, thank you, Anna.
Move to approve resolution 20-18 between Fort Bragg Unified and Mendocino Coast Recreation and Park.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion? And are we okay without reading? If I remember, it's a little lengthy. We're okay with not reading it? Okay. All right. Anna?
Okay. President Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Matson?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We are moving along. 10.4 interim permits for certificated staff. Again, this is another non-controversial and very routine. When we have a staff member that doesn't have quite what they need to have a clear credential or a full credential, we have to let CTC, California Teaching Commission, that we have them and that we know about it. So are there any questions? All right, then we'll ask for an approval, a motion.
I move to approve the intern waivers.
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Thank you, Diana and Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, Anna.
Okay. President Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Matson?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Okay. 10.5, Resolution 20-19 to close Funds 68 and 69. Wendy, I thought we were going to miss you tonight, so here you are.
So these funds were opened up a very long time ago when we were all self-insured for our dental and vision programs, and we kept a certain amount of reserves in there to be able to cover the costs that were, if there were any little overruns, and a certain amount was deposited into those every year, and then based on the anticipated costs that we were going to incur. Since then, we have become fully insured for our vision and our dental. So there's no real need for these funds. The vision we transferred to VSP a few years ago, and the reserves in that fund were used to cover the additional cost of the program while we determined if it was a reasonable program and if the staff was happy with it. And I think people have been pretty happy with the VSP Vision program. So we're going to not need that little bit of reserve that's still sitting there anymore. And then a dental fund, we are funded through ACSIG, which is Alameda County Schools Insurance Group with the Delta Dental. So these funds just aren't really needed. And since they would be a one-time amount of money, my suggestion is that those funds be closed and the amounts transferred into our board reserve to help us move towards the 6% requirement above the reserve for economic uncertainty. And I just want to thank you, Wendy. I think that's a fabulous idea. It's nothing that's ongoing. We can't, sustain anything with that amount of money. So I just really appreciate that suggestion and putting that chunk of money away for us to be able to write out what we have been able to before. So thank you. Okay, I guess this is the muted room, Becky. All right, anything from the public?
There is no public comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there are no questions, I'll call for a motion, please.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 20-19, the closure of Fund 68 and 69.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Anna.
Okay. Trustee Matson?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Pioli?
Yes.
President Babcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Okay, 10.7. Oh, nope, 10.6. Let's jumping ahead. Confidential salary schedule. I don't know which one of Becky or Wendy. So, do you want me to
go right ahead?
Okay. So all of our salary schedules in the last 5 or 6 years have been reviewed and adjusted and altered and all sorts of things done to them based on the changes in our job descriptions, based on the changes in staffing needs, based on the recognition of the difference in certain different job classifications. The only groups salary schedule that hasn't ever been looked at since I've been here really is the confidential salary schedule, confidential classified. This is the group of employees who are not part of the bargaining unit and represent mostly our office staff and a few of our IT workers. This schedule, as we are replacing one of our administrative assistants / accounts payable people, it's a good time to look at this salary schedule. I did a fairly extensive comparable test on all of these positions, and this schedule represents a fairly middle of the road for comparable districts in our area for these different positions. So we would like, and it also eliminates ranges that we haven't used in years, which is we did that with the classified schedule a number of years ago, and brings it a little more in line with the actual things that people are doing now. Because in the past, these jobs were very different when these schedules were created than they are now. It doesn't change where the amount of money anybody's making very much, but it consolidates the ranges and recognizes the difference in the different positions.
So I just, what are there's the top column has pink. There's maybe 9 or 10 highlighted, does that represent anything? And then below.
So those cells that are highlighted are the ones where people are now, and then I highlighted them in yellow below where they would be so that I could easily come up with the cost of the change. And it's not a tremendous amount of money changing that. And it also maintains the same type of 5-year blocks as the classified schedule.
Okay, so it affects about 16 staff, plus or minus?
Right, not quite that many.
Not that many. There's a duplication, I guess. That was my other question, just that it wouldn't mean necessarily that every person would go up a column, but it's you've done.
No, nobody's changing a column well, that's not true. I think there are 2 people whose step would change in order for them not to make less than they're making now. So the little pink cells. So all told, there are. There's about 12 people, I think, altogether that are impacted by this.
And I do recall this has been on our calendar, on our agenda, at least 2, maybe even 3 times, because I know it was on discussion a few times. So
we put it on discussion last month, and we did bring it last June, I think, to look at, and decided that given the state of the budget, that it was not a good time to do that.
And so the reason we're bringing this to you now, because someone's probably wondering, well, why are we doing this now? Because we're replacing office staff, and the previous schedule has been a problem. It doesn't really capture the duties and what's happening with our employees. And also, we have adjusted our other bargaining unit salary schedule over the last few years. The Csca bargaining agreement, we have a 5-year agreement with them. And so that is coming to sunset when we come to next August. That'll be the last year of it. So it makes sense to do this now when we are going to be hiring for a new employee, and also because we haven't done it and we've been pulling it because of the adjustment with the classified unit, the Csca 5-year agreement. The cost is not as significant. So that's why we're bringing this before you right now.
Okay, any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you, Anna. Any further questions from the board? Okay, I'll call for a motion.
I'll move to adopt the updated confidential classified schedule as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Okay. Trustee Mattson.
Yes.
Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
Trustee Makala.
Yes.
Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
Trustee Paoli.
Yes.
Okay, 10.7, the board insurance and rate. This was on discussion 1, right? Not 2. Just last month.
It was on discussion last month. I was the one that brought this up. And again, I brought it up because I asked other superintendents, what do you do with your board? So like, for instance, Csca, the board members pay the same rate as a full-time employee. In Covelo, they pay the full rate as the employee, the same in Laytonville. But I think Laytonville right now has no board members taking the insurance. So when I asked this question over and over again, it was the same rate as a full-time employee. And I didn't understand why our board pays less than that. And I know it's not a time to be spending money. I get it. But we are moving into an election. I didn't want this to be a topic for anyone outside of that. But I do believe, to be quite honest with you, with as much work as you put in as a board, paying the same rate as a full-time employee makes the most sense to me. I couldn't find any reason or any other district who didn't treat the board as a full-time employee. So that's why I'm bringing it up. No board member approached me and said, "Hey, Becky, what do you think of this?" This was my idea. This was me going to Wendy saying, "Well, why does this happen?" Because Wendy used to be a board member, and both of us kind of looked at each other, and she said, I don't know." So with the meetings that we're having, with as much as you do, my feeling right now is just to treat us as other boards and say that you pay the same rate as a full-time employee. There is a cost to that. This year it'll be about $11,000, and in coming years it'll be $18,000 a year. And it's an all or nothing gig. So if you have one board member who says, "Nope, I'm not taking insurance, not going to do it," then no board member can take it. And so by putting that qualifying feature on it, having you pay as a full-time employee makes more sense because that's a much more manageable amount.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
So, Becky, I have a question. The rule that either all take it or no one takes it, is that a self-inflicted policy, or is that some sort of...
That's from Staywell. So the Staywell JPA bylaws dictate that it's all or nothing. And the reason for that is so that people aren't cherry picking who is on the insurance and who isn't. Because if all the board members who were a little bit older with ailments decided, "Oh, I want the insurance," and the other ones don't, it's just like any other pool. It's got to be all or nothing. It's the same way with all of the employees. It's all of the employees have to take it. It's not optional unless you're 65.
Got it. Thank you.
And Wendy, I don't know if you can answer. I thought in years past, and this might have been 30 years ago, that this board currently used to get a stipend for meetings or could be eligible for, and maybe even pension. So maybe that's why the 75% was calculated.
No idea.
No idea.
Honestly, no idea.
I had talked to this was years ago, a former board member, and that was their recollection potentially. So maybe that's why they came with a different percentage, because they were getting many other benefits.
But Diana, you have to remember that we didn't start paying into the insurance until about 10 years ago. FBUSD used to cover employee insurance 100%. And as the insurance rates mounted and mounted and mounted, we went to a cap.
Okay.
But maybe the board didn't ever pay. Maybe the JPA Staywell rule was different then. Because that seems logical. What Diana's saying is that since they were getting these other things, they didn't. But I don't know.
I don't think the rule was changed. I think that the JPA group didn't realize that different districts were doing it differently until there was a question about an odd situation that came up, and they said, no, the bylaws say, and everybody went, "What?" Because that particular provision hadn't been looked at for some time. So that's why this has come up as a thing, because everybody realized, oh yeah, that's right, we have to do all or nothing. And we did spend quite a bit of time at the JPA talking about whether to require it or not, and whether to have it be an all or nothing. And our consultants brought up the what I said, that you can't pick and choose, that it has to be all or nothing, just as it is with the employees for the board.
And so that's why I brought this up and put this on the agenda.
And it does feel a little weird to me to be voting for my own benefit thing, but I really appreciate that you asked the other districts. I mean, we could have done that research too, that we are kind of an anomaly. I do know that other boards, even currently not close to us, but when we go to CSBA events and things, they do get stipends and reimbursements and some other things. So I appreciate all those bits of information, but it does still feel a little weird. But
no, I get it, which is why I brought it up, and which is why I didn't discuss it with any of you.
The other thing that we need to remember is probably annually you'll need to review and make a determination about whether you're going to participate each year, because the open enrollment period in June is when that decision has to be made either way.
So is this something that should be agendized like every May, and we decide as a group?
Well, that's what I actually just sent Anna an email saying, just so we don't forget, we should probably put this on the agenda for every May for the board to consider whether or not to participate in the health plan.
Okay. Well, Becky, I appreciate you bringing this forward. I have talked to other boards for districts in other areas who do get stipends, who do get insurance, some get pensions. I know it's in our self-interest, but I'm in favor of it.
Well, and I just have to say, I want to make sure that whatever we do at FBUSD is replicable, and replicable is the wrong word, that it is similar to what other districts are doing. And right now I can't find another district that's doing what we're doing. And I've looked. So I put that out there because I know that this is not an easy job. And especially right now in COVID land, it's been a little bit more exciting. So I'm putting that out there because I would like our board and what we do to be in line with other districts.
Okay. Any other questions for Wendy or Becky?
Anna, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
And so I think for me, that says a lot. So as a result, there's not a resolution.
Nope. Just 10.7 board insurance rates.
So I would make a motion that we be considered a 1.0 FTE with regards to insurance. So that board members, I'm reading the item, board members would participate in medical benefits at the 1.0 FTE rate. So I'll go ahead and make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and I just want to pause because I know there's a lag in the email. Nothing came in right after we asked for that.
No, there's nothing.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, Anna.
Trustee Paoli?
Sorry. Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Matson?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
President Babcock?
Yes.
So when does this go into effect, if I may ask?
It will go into effect. Okay, this is the middle of October. We can probably get it set up for next month. I will double check and confirm, but I believe we can probably get it changed that quickly.
Okay, thank you again, Becky, and I assume updated invoices will be sent out. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're moving on to 10.8, our reopening and return to school. As we've promised, it's on every and all meeting agendas. And I believe because we will not have another regular meeting before, we do need to take action tonight in some form or another. But correct, Becky?
Yes, and what I would recommend, so first off, let's clarify a couple of things so that folks know. You as a board do not have the power to say, we are returning to school next week. Everybody is coming back full time and all kids will be on campus. You don't have that power. I don't have that power. Our public health officer doesn't have that power because we have this colored tiered system. So first off, know that, and let's say that out loud again, you do not have that power. You just don't. So when we talk about the return to school, really this is about us following the tiered system and where we are in the state. So my recommendation to you right now, after having the discussion last month and picking a date, not picking a date, and then having you have a 3-2 split vote on a date or not a date, and really at that time of the meeting, the end result was the same. But in order to keep our families understanding that us returning to school is 100% dependent on what our tier is with our county through the state of California, I'm going to recommend to you that the action that you take is that you you keep school closed in distance learning until we are in the red tier. And then at that time, you convene a special board meeting so that folks aren't looking to the board to say, when are we coming back? They're looking to our tiered status in the state, which is what you were grappling with last month. And to be honest with you, when we met last month, I didn't even think of that, to be able to come to you instead of giving you a date saying, well, let's just follow the tiered system. The tiered system was relatively new at that time. Believe it or not, I had other things on my mind as far as priorities. So I apologize for not coming up with that suggestion, but I truly believe it's a valid suggestion. We talked about it at ADCO, date or not date, red, purple, what is it? But it takes some of the pressure off you as a board for our community to fully understand that this is not in your power. This is about, are we in the red tier? And then once we come into the red tier, you as a board convene a special board meeting within 24 hours, and then we can talk about a date at that point. Also, something that I learned this week that was very enlightening to me, and I don't know if anybody else knows it, but let me just go ahead and announce it to God in creation. At the OES meeting this week for the county, and OES is Operation of Emergency Services, I learned on Wednesday that the infographic that the county publishes every day, that infographic is 7 days old. That is part of the 7-day lag that we talk about. I didn't realize that information was for the previous week. So the information that you see right now on the county website for today is the information as of last week today. And I thought that was very enlightening because I've heard the county public health officer talk about the 7-day lag. So at the OES meeting, Dr. Corrin beautifully explained it, that right now, the numbers that you see on the county website those are our last week numbers. And last week at this time, we were in the purple. The current numbers that they're looking at right now and they're verifying shows that there is a potential for us to be in the red. Doesn't mean that it's official. Okay, we need as a county to be in the red for 2 weeks, and our week begins on Sunday and ends on Saturday. So if we get into the red this week, and they're not sure yet because there were a couple of fishy days, but if we get into the red this week, then this will be week 1. If we maintain red the following week, that will be week 2. Once we hit 2 weeks, then schools need to wait an additional 2 weeks before we can go into the red, before we can open up. So for right now, regardless of what happens, let's say if red works for this week, red works for next week, we still wait another 2 weeks. It's not going to be until mid-November when we're going to be able to open. So my suggestion to you in the reopening plan is to not look at a date anymore, because I think that's causing a whole lot of confusion and I think that's bringing in a lot of anxiety. But to say that as a board, that we're going to follow the colored tier system, and that when we are in the red, that we will convene a special board meeting and we will actually look at the numbers of where we're at. That gives our staff the time to be able to say, okay, here we go. But also we know that once we get into the red for those 2 weeks, it's going to be another 2 weeks before schools can even come back. So that's my recommendation to you. And also the second recommendation I'm going to make is that if this whole thing works out, okay, the earliest we could possibly come back is November 9th. And right now there are lots of people having panic attacks about the date that I just said, November 9th. But that would not, even if we could come back the 9th, I wouldn't recommend you for us to come back the 9th. I would recommend for you to allow us to come back on the 16th when we have 5 full solid days and not a week with a day off in the middle, because we need that continuity when we first come back. But for right now, what I'm saying to you is that we have no idea what tier we're going to be in the next few weeks. We have no idea. We also have no idea what Halloween is going to do to us. Let's be perfectly clear. And so my recommendation to you is that when if you have to take action on this, because we've only cleared this through November 2nd, I'm going to recommend that we do this based on the tiered system, and that you hold a special board meeting so our community knows, okay, this board meeting is going to be about this. And then that takes off some pressure, and it really shows everyone, staff, students, community, that this is not within your control. And let me say again, we are not applying for a waiver. We've never brought that up. I've had people ask me over and over again, and I hear you. I know you're nervous about it. We are not applying for a waiver. A waiver only applies to grades K-6. Questions?
Did anything come in, Anna?
There is one public comment in the public comment document from Mary Pardini. It's at the bottom, highlighted.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Can I just make a comment first? Do we?
Yes, go ahead.
So I don't feel like I was, just to clarify, I was getting frustrated because I think there was a false claim that we did have the power. And that was the last two meetings I was trying to not very eloquently state that it isn't in our power. We can be more restrictive than the state, but we can't be less. So I appreciate the language that will follow the tier system that's given to us from the state. But I just want to comment, kind of piggyback what I was saying on the other agenda item. It would be nice to have the tier colors along with what the school model would be. You know, if that's, you know, a distant learning in purple, red would be a hybrid, you know, X days, and then the orange, and going through so that families know. I mean, because we could be stuck in red, you know, we could be stuck in purple for, you know, 2 or 3 months. We don't have that hourglass or the, we aren't clairvoyant to know what the future is holding. So I just feel like that is kind of a package deal. But I agree with the no date and following the tier, and then holding a special meeting when we're in the red to discuss.
And someone had said today in the board chat, and Kathy, I'm sorry to interrupt. Someone said today in the board chat that they felt like we were being held hostage by Ukiah. And the hard part is that when you look at where the cases are right now, Ukiah is a big chunk of our county. Well, most of our residents live in Ukiah when you look at population for our county. What I hope people know for us is that right now in Fort Bragg, the data that I received this week about the zip codes is that we have 3 in Fort Bragg of what we know. And the reality is we are not as densely populated as Ukiah, and we're fortunate in that way.
Okay, any other questions before I read? We have 2 now. Okay, I'll go ahead and read our 2 received letters. So the one first, thank you all for the time and effort you put into our children. Please know I appreciate all you do. I am hoping that when the students can return to school, that the board will consider adopting a different hybrid model than the one proposed. I would like to see students to be back in the classroom 5 days a week. Personally, I am seeing the effects of distance learning on my own children and others. I hear many stories of children struggling emotionally, not having the support of their peers or the faculty to help them. Although some students like mine are getting good grades, they are losing interest in their education. They don't share with me the exciting things that they would with in-person instruction. As a parent, it is hard to watch your child not care and have nothing to look forward to in their education. School is essential for not only education, but also how our youth develop socially. I truly feel there is going to be a long-term effects of distance learning, and the longer it goes on, and the more difficult it will be for teachers and students when they return. Anxiety and depression are inevitable as these children try to catch up or fail, as some are doing now. Teachers and administrators are essential, and the students need you. Thank you for your time. Much respect, Mary Pardini. And here is a second one. Trying to type fast. I would want you to please consider that if we get into the red in November before the Thanksgiving and the Christmas breaks, when there will be likely an uptick in outbreaks, it would make more sense to wait until at least January so we don't risk going back and then having to close again. Please keep our county as safe as possible during the holidays and the flu season. Keep this easier for teachers and families to plan our lives. Thank you, Katie.
So a couple of things, just so that folks understand. First off, if we open our schools and folks want to keep their kids fully remote, we have continued to say that that is an option for everyone, for all of our families. Just because we open doesn't mean that your children have to come back. So please know that. Also, the other part is that if we get in the red and we're able to open, we're able to open. Once we open, we do not have to close, even if we go back into the purple. How we would close is if there is a staff or a student had COVID, then we would close our schools down for a minimum of 72 hours or the rest of the week, whichever is longer. That's in our own protocols. So that's the difference. I don't think that the way our calendar works, there's always going to be times, I feel at least, where there's going to be some holiday for social settings. We've seen that from 4th of July. We have no idea what's going to come out of Halloween. And again, we have no idea if we're even going to make it in the red right now. So families, please know that you always have the option to keep your kids at home. And for our staff, we're going to do our best to make sure that everybody is following proper protocols. I'm confident in the PPE and in what we have prepared to keep our schools clean. We're always trying to better ourselves. So for right now, if we get into red, you as a board can determine if we're going to open or not, and parents can still decide how they want their children to have their education.
And Anna, I think I may have taken off. Can you tell me what the salutation, right, is the end? It was, I think I took out her name. Can you tell me how it was signed?
It was signed Katie, but it was from Csca.
Okay. I thought maybe I deleted her. Okay.
No, that was how she signed it.
Okay, thank you.
And let me say one more thing. Let's pretend that we go red for 2 weeks. We still have to, the state requires that schools wait an additional 2 weeks to show that they're in the red. If during those 2 weeks we go into the purple, guess what? We don't get to reopen. Okay, so if there really is an uptick from Halloween and we get another spike, so let's say we have 2 weeks of red, and that third week, Halloween numbers come in and it's like July 4th all over again, okay? Then what happens is you as a board do not get to vote to reopen because we'll be back into purple before we opened. Does that make sense? And then we have to wait for the 2 weeks to start all over again, and then the 2 weeks again. So it'll be another month. Does that make sense? Schools have to wait in their county 2 weeks after the county has been placed in red before they can reopen. But once we are there and we can reopen and we do reopen, even if we go back into purple, we will not have to close. Only unless by our own protocols, if there is a COVID case from a staff member or from a student. And we close down the entire district.
So I just want to clarify, because I must have misunderstood at the last meeting, because I thought the state numbers had to be red for 2 weeks, and then we had our own internal 2 weeks for staff.
That's what I thought. I have to tell you that's what I thought.
Right, because I had done research last month that there was a school that was in red 2 weeks, and then they hadn't opened yet, and they went into purple and they couldn't open. But if they had already maybe they changed the protocol, but then had they gone that third week and they went to purple and they were already in session, then they were fine. That was what I understood.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's why Wendy and I do these meetings together, because I'll walk into her office fully masked and say, Wendy, did I hear that right? So I appreciate that Wendy attends those meetings with me, because I have to tell you, we said internally that we wanted to wait another 2 weeks to make sure that our sites were ready. But Dr. Korn said that this week that schools have to wait an additional 2 weeks to ensure that we're solidly in the red. And Wendy, is that how you understood it? How's the public comment going, Anna?
There's no more public comments.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, points of order from the board?
Yeah, just basically, it feels like this vote is we have to wait for that anyway. There really is, we have to do. I don't know what that is. It's not me.
Scott, can you mute yourself? Scott, can you mute? We're getting paper.
Oh, just that, we have to vote because we set that date, the November 2nd date. And really that's what we have to wait for the red anyway. So the vote is kind of a given, it feels like, but there'd be no point in voting no against what is my point.
Well, and that's why I was really torn last month, because that's where I was going with, is that we can't we knew we would have to meet if we went into the red anyway. And that's why I was part of the 2, because we can't do anything. I mean, I feel the same way, Diana. I feel that there are certain parts of the public that think that we can come in and whoop whoop and open school, and we can't. And I think this is I never really thought of it as, Becky, that this does send the message that we can't, when we keep voting to set a date or whatnot, it does kind of imply, when you think about it, that we do have power that we don't, because we can't open until we meet this tiered system.
I had a mama stop me at Safeway. We were talking, and former student, please open schools, Becky, please. I said, I don't have that kind of power.
So I also agree with the recommendation, and I guess if there's no more public comment, go forward and make a motion that a special meeting is called.
We have a public comment.
Oh.
Okay.
It's a
Is
question.
it in the full?
It's not. Would you like me to just read it? It's a question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
From Cindy Whitlock. And her question is, 2 weeks for county red, 2 weeks for school red, then would you add 2 weeks after that, is her question.
I wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't recommend that it would take us 6 weeks to reopen. No. But, you as a board could say, yeah, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would 2 weeks county red, 2 weeks for red for the school, and then I would say, let's make it a go. But that's my recommendation. I don't get to vote.
And can you repeat in that 4-week time frame when the special meeting would occur in order to vote whether to open or not?
You would need to have a special meeting once the county hits that week 2.
So at the end of the first 2 weeks, before our second 2 weeks in the middle there. Okay.
So I'll go back to making a motion that we call for a special meeting once we know we're going to be in the red. Is that sufficient?
Well, we need to remain in distant learning until we reach red, and then we will hold a special meeting.
Right.
So I will second that.
Okay, any further discussion or public comment? Last minute stuff?
No public comment.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Anna?
Okay. Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Matson?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And President Babcock?
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry I'm fumbling around with my iPad. Somehow my starred stuff is anyway, I don't know what has happened. So I may need a little bit of assist, but I have the next thing printed out, so we're good. Sorry. If I look a little distracted, that's why. My documents are now gone. Me and Google sometimes don't get along. So 10.9, Resolution 20-20, the MECA membership. And I think this is an annual thing, Becky, if you want to talk about the history maybe of MECA, and I'll try to figure out my Google.
So MECA is an organization that it's the coastal county schools. So we have Point Arena's part of it, Three Rivers, Mendocino Unified, us, MCOE, and the Mendocino College. And when I first became superintendent, I worked with Veronica Baser, and she's been super instrumental in trying to keep that group going. And I kept saying, so what's the point of the group? What's the point of the group? And so over the years, what I've really appreciated is that we've all come together to find really a purpose for this group. And so we are working with Mendo College. They're taking more of an active lead with this group, which I appreciate. And so Amanda Zhu with all of her work. So thank you, Amanda. And so the purpose of the group has really turned into providing a job fair at Mendo College in May. Mary, you helped with that immensely last year. Well, not last year, 2 years ago, because we didn't have one 5 months ago. But looking at having an active job fair. And when we had our first one, I have to tell you, I was thrilled because 3 high school kids walked away with summer jobs. We brought them there on a bus. They came back to school with jobs. So having a job fair, and not just for kids, but for our community members at large, looking at some type of a 5th grade council for the coast so that kids in the 5th grade can come together and talk about current issues, and having reps to represent those kids in the 5th grade. So I think that's pretty great. And looking at potentially some kind of a scholarship to Mendo College for our kids, and then doing some kind of accommodating maybe 5th grade Mendo College visit, whether it's in Ukiah or the Coast Campus. So I feel like this group has a better purpose and better direction. So I'm really thrilled with the work that's coming out of it. I think it's a good thing. This is just the annual resolution of why this group exists and what we do with it.
Can I ask you a quick question about the 5th grade council? So how often would they meet?
Well, right now we're kind of in the middle of that. Kathy and I met with Veronica Baser to try and tease out some details. We're going to bring that to the group next month. Right now we're looking at 5th grade reps coming together, and then maybe doing a 5th grade kind of culminating event. We don't know what that is yet. We have lots of ideas, but I don't want to say something, because the minute I say something, well, Becky said in that meeting, then it's going to be this. Well, we're not really sure. We have lots of ideas percolating. So the idea behind it is that it starts out with reps, and then from the reps, they come together to do a meeting, and then we can do more things as a much larger 5th grade.
Right. Oh, I think it's a great idea. I love bringing all the schools together and having the kids talk to each other. That's great.
It's really stemming. Am I muted? No. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulty tonight. So Mary, it stems from, I'm sure you remember the Seroptimist group. Yeah, we won't say anymore because, again, I don't want people to quote us, but that's kind of where we're jumping off.
That's awesome. Yeah, because the Seroptimist Youth Forum is amazing. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm all good. I'm back to, thank you, Anna, for sending me the link. I am back in business. Okay. Any public comment regarding our association with Mecca?
There is no public comment.
And I know that there was an issue with a typo. Did that get fixed, or did you have access to this, Anna?
I did not fix it, but I can fix it before it gets a signature on it. I just didn't want to mess with the packet.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions?
I just move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's short. Should we read it, Diana?
Up to you.
All right. Let's hit it. Go ahead.
Okay. So Resolution 20-20 between Mendocino County Office of Education, Board of Trustees, Fort Bragg Unified School District Board of Trustees, Mendocino Unified School District Board of Trustees, Mendocino College, and the Mendocino Coast Recreation and Park District. Whereas residents of the Fort Bragg and Mendocino Unified School Districts have need for academic coursework, vocational training opportunities, and recreational and avocational activities, and whereas the Mendocino County Office of Education provides ancillary services to help meet the divergent needs of residents of the Mendocino Unified and the Fort Bragg Unified School District, and whereas the Mendocino Coast Recreation and Park District provides supplemental and enrichment activities to residents of the two districts in cooperation with those districts, and whereas the Mendocino College provides higher education services to the residents of both districts, and whereas the Institute of Career Education provides coordinated services with the college, the two unified school districts, and the Recreation and Park District. Therefore, be it resolved that the governing board of the Fort Bragg Unified School District authorizes membership in the Mendocino Education Coordinating Council Association, MECA, for the purpose of formulation of the Regional Education Master Plan for the Mendocino Coast, development, improvement, and integration of vocational and avocational, that's the spelling, and academic programs, cooperative efforts in human resources development among the member institutions, maximum cooperative use of educational facilities and resources to reduce unnecessary duplication and promote joint planning, cooperation, and communication. Be it further resolved that this board will appoint or reaffirm the appointment of one board member and one administrator to serve on MECA. Signed by Superintendent, Fort Bragg.
Okay. Any further discussion? And Anna.
Okay. Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
President Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Matson,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Makala.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do we need a stretch break or are we good to move through the policies?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right. So we have several board policies to review this evening, 196 pages, I think. So we'll do it the same way we've done other. I have to say, Anna, I think you might, not that we want you to leave, but I think you could get a job at CSBA because this really isn't as nice as your work.
So I just have to echo that. Yeah.
That's all. I was like, oh, I know it saves her time, but boy, that was really nice what you did.
I think it's smaller font, and that hurts too.
And I don't necessarily think it does in the long run save me time, because when I print off their version of it, I still have to go through it so that I know what I'm giving you, so that I can understand what the changes are. So,
So I just have to tell you, Anna, yours are way better. I mean, and I know you gave me the cheat sheet, but I liked having the different colors to be able to know, you know, what changed. Anyway,
well, we can go back to that system if you guys want, but
no, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to add any more work.
No one likes change. Let's just face it. Let's just face it.
Well, this time around was easier, and I think their guide sheet is kind of helpful to show if it's mandated or if there's some options. So, I mean, we just have to rework our brain.
Yeah.
And the guide sheet does, I mean, you can look at the bold. Every single one of these is because of a new state regulation, a new federal regulation, a new law. It's either a new law or a new federal regulation. So that's on all of these. And then just kind of going through the nuances. There are a few places that Anna highlighted, thank you, Anna, of where the options are. And it makes it go a little bit more quickly. But there's nothing in here that doesn't have to do with a new state regulation or a new federal regulation or a new law. So those are the three big ones. And in truth, anytime you get a board policy update in front of you, those are the real reasons. CSBA doesn't come together and say, well, let's just mess with it and give us all some new stuff to look at. It's always because of law changes.
But I did, in general, since it affects, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them, did anybody else think that maybe we should wait on the sexual harassment stuff because of this pending lawsuit? Because it says that if it doesn't at the beginning of them, that if there's a pending lawsuit, and if it goes through, then none of this is going to apply. And then it says CSB, right? That CSB. Yeah. So I don't know whether, I mean, I'm sure it's not a lot because it says CSB will let us know. So then we could just pull them out. But I don't know if what's the pluses and minuses to putting them in and then taking them out, or.
Well, and then are you talking about the Title IV? Because I was thinking there's the poster requirements. I don't know if that's embedded in that same policy that we're already doing. We're posting the
we already do the posters.
So, I mean, part of it's still valuable or valid.
The Title IX.
Well, there's sexual harassment, and I'm not quite, my notes aren't very good to know if there's 2. Which section, if they're in the same section.
And let me clarify, when you hear poster from kids, that means something really huge. And what we have is we printed them on bright orange paper, but they're 8.5 by 11, and it has all the information that we're mandated to do. And that was prepared for us by legal. So it wasn't Becky Walker coming and say, hey, look at this poster. We actually asked legal to look at those requirements and to create what we needed to have in our bathrooms. And we do it at the middle school and at the high school and at alt ed. So just know that they're out there, they're bright colored paper, and they're in the bathrooms.
And do they include what constitutes sexual harassment? Do they have that list? Okay, they do. Good.
So what page is that on, Kathy, that so we know if it's, because there's also procedures on, it needs to be on our website. Maybe
the lawsuit. I mean, it's 9, 10, 41, 64. Yeah. I mean, it's law. I mean,
it's in all of
them. I went through and circled the ones that it doesn't apply to, which is not very many, but
it's in all 4 of them.
It's really just the sexual, well, the 5. So the 5 sexual harassment ones for sure.
Do we have any idea when the lawsuit, where it's at and in the legal system, or is this going to be years like some?
I say, what year was it filed? I'm sure.
Right.
It does say consult legal, so maybe we need to.
Does some of our Wendy or Jerry, some of the veteran, what do you guys think?
I don't think we've run into this before, have we, Wendy?
I don't think so either. My only thought on it was that if this is the current law, regardless of what happens with the lawsuit, the time between now and when the lawsuit is settled, which could be years, might impact it. So having the current law on the books would be to our benefit, I think, between now and then.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And also the Title IV, there's, which is on our website, I checked, the parent policy and procedures. And right now our coordinator says it's Mark at the high school. So we'll need to update that. But I think that has to be on the website. So I think we can't just pick and choose what portion of the policy we want to keep.
We can leave Mark, no.
I don't know, he has another job title.
I'm just kidding, Mark Cimolino. We had Mark on there because he was the athletic director, and that made the most sense. And what we had said, the agreement was that Mark would be the Title IX investigator for all things athletic, and anything that falls outside of the athletic realm, it was me. And we didn't put a name other than that because it would be me or Carolyn. So when they're special ed related, Carolyn takes the lead. When they're non-special ed related, I take the lead. So luckily, we are very fortunate that we have not had to use that very much. But we left Mark's name on it because many of the Title IX issues were athletic. And so when Mark moved over into the admin realm and Adam Kubo came on board as the athletic director, believe it or not, I knew that we didn't change Mark's name on it because if it was sports related, it would be nice to have an administrator on that. But Mark doesn't know that I thought of this. So for right now, we can change that. What I need to do is I need to talk to Mark, Bruce, and Carolyn and myself and really talk about what we want to do with the Title IX coordinator position as when it comes to athletics. It makes me a little nervous to put that kind of weight on the athletic director, but we'll have that conversation.
And that particular thing pops up on several of these policies where the coordinator needs to be put in correctly. So when we've figured that out, we can put it in.
And probably to be safe, Anna, you should just replace it with my name.
Okay. All right. So now that I've put us jumbled all over the place with these policies, I would agree with what Wendy was saying too, that it's better to have it in and take it out later than to miss something later on. So then there are some options in even the first one. So I think we'll have to go through them one by one.
So in the first one, it has to be option 2.
Okay.
And Pilar has been through this too. So
excellent.
That's a slam dunk.
Okay. And then I just had, are the on page 5, there's some notifications. Are those all up or will they be up after we? Let's see. It's on the very bottom.
So
civil rights posters.
I believe we have those up already, but we'll double check.
Yeah, Pilar did look through this, and she said that she was well aware of all the civil rights items and that they were compliant with everything.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything for BP and E 3555?
No.
Okay. All right. AR 4030. I didn't have anything. Didn't anybody else? That's one I think the name has to be put in, but Anna's got that.
Right.
Okay. Okay. BP and AR 4119.12. I just made a note that has our insurance carrier or our legal. I think it might have been mentioned in this one that legal reviewed. Do we need to do that?
So Anna and Wendy, I'm going to back up for just a second. When it comes to the Title IX coordinator, does it have to have a specific name or can you put superintendent?
I believe you can put superintendent.
Okay, so the reason why I say that is because it really should be the superintendent. And then that way you don't have to change the policy if I win the lottery or get hit by a bus. I'm going to shoot for the lottery.
Okay.
So we do have an optional paragraph on page 27.
I know this is going to sound bad, but that's adding extra work, and I don't know whether.
So the optional paragraph is something that we had adopted previously, so most likely you are going to want to keep it in.
Can I whisper, but do we do that? I don't think I ever took a survey when I worked there about whether harassment was happening.
No, we haven't done it, but it's something, if it's in our policy, then we should do.
Well, and it says such evaluation may involve conducting a regular anonymous survey. It doesn't have to. So there are other ways to.
So we do the sexual harassment Keenan training for all employees. So
and board members.
The K word, Keenan.
I even did the extra COVID ones.
You go, girl.
I have a few comments about that, but different time. Okay, so we're leaving it in.
If it's in the policy right now, I think we should keep it in. I don't think that we should, if we have it now. That's what I think.
Okay, so that moves us to any other. I don't even know which policy we're in. 4119. Okay.
119.12. I see nothing in that one.
Okay. Except because we're adding that policy. Okay. Or adding the paragraph. And then AR 3119.12, Title IX sexual harassment complaint. Mine's the same comment about insurance legal review and the lawsuit thing. So I don't have anything else. Does anybody else?
No, I think that's actually 4119.11. Anyway.
You know what's interesting is our viewership has plummeted. We were at like 40 people at one point.
Opening school is much more important or interesting than board policy. Okay, so I do have an optional paragraph written down for 5141.22, so page 56. And if we're lucky, Anna will just tell us we have that and we're not supposed to worry about it.
Well, isn't that an old policy optional?
Yeah. And The whole AR is optional, and we did have that AR before, so it has been adopted previously.
And was this optional paragraph there too?
Yes.
Okay. Then we're consistently sticking with
consistence. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have questions on that one?
This is the infectious disease.
Yes.
Right? I had a note saying students working with blood. Do we do that? Because I think maybe in the 80s we did check our blood, our if we were O or AB, our blood type.
They were referring to science classes.
Yeah, that's no longer happening.
I mean, they do dissection, but that's not their own blood or human blood.
It could be.
There are some districts that have phlebotomy vocational classes in large, Los Angeles, for instance, probably has something like that, but we don't have any, and that sort of vocational education.
We tried one year. We had that CNA class. Okay, so moving on to non-discrimination harassment.
I got nothing except for adding in the Title IX again.
Okay. Yeah, I just have the lawsuit on page 64. And then, so parental notification.
There's nothing in there to worry about whatsoever, and everything does get done because that's the document that we get from CSBA every year to hand it out in the parental annual booklets.
Good.
And I know you know that well, so I figured we didn't have to worry about that one for sure. Okay. The 51457.7 sexual harassment lawsuit again.
I got nothing except for add the Title IX, and I did make a note to check on the posters, but we've touched on that already. So,
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Title IX sexual harassment complaint procedure. There's a consult legal in here. And I have page 101. Anybody have that?
No.
Okay, I don't know what it was. Okay.
Paragraph on page 78 as well.
What was on 78?
An optional paragraph.
Okay. Anna, do you want to tell us if that's something we already have?
I will go back up.
Okay. We'll pause.
Okay.
I'm looking at the optional paragraph there on page 78. Whenever a student enrolls in a district school during the school year, the student's parents, guardians shall be given all required parental notifications at that time. I think we do that.
Yeah, we do, and it was in our previous version of the policy, so it's not a new adoption.
Okay.
Okay, the next one I've got quite a few different options in 6142.7.
Yes, I have 5 pages referenced on this one.
And the first one's on page 134.
Yes, that's what I have too.
And so it's all about PE and the different types of PE and what should be involved in the PE, like aquatics and gymnastics and tumbling and some quite specific language.
And I'm just a little nervous about having that specific language because there are things that are going to be completely out of our power.
I agree.
Well, and then they had a 2-year waiver language at the end as well.
Well, isn't that the part about they can do athletic PE?
Something else. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that also was, because it was discussed before, if certain other extracurricular were in lieu of to get credit. And I don't know if that addresses the issue. Like singing, or I don't know. There was some talk about one art class or.
I think PE is a hot button it seems to roll around every so many years. So if we can leave out wording that might spur a topic, I would support that.
I just don't want, I don't want to mislead people.
Mm-hmm.
It's we always try and provide as many options as possible, but I don't want folks to feel misled.
Okay, anybody else feel strongly that it needs to stay?
No.
Okay.
So the only paragraph that I saw in this particular one was on page 140, and it talks about the fitness gram, and that's something that we already do, and that is a paragraph that we had in, and that was the only one that I'd put a check mark to probably keeping.
Okay.
Okay, so the rest of them we did not have in our current policy?
I have one, I think, but in a different format.
Okay.
Let me go back up.
So are the board members?
The one we had was, sorry, about the exemptions, permanent exemptions. On page 138.
Okay. So is the board okay with just including the one paragraph that we had before and take the rest of them out?
Yes.
Okay, I'm seeing some nodding. Okay, great.
Okay.
So Anna, you got?
Yeah, got that.
You have our feedback? Okay. So that takes us to BP and AR 6159 for the IEPs. And there's just a mention in there about whether this all aligns with our SELPA. So as long as Carolyn's looked at it and
she has it. I don't know if she's finished going through it with a fine-tooth comb, but she's definitely got access to it.
Okay.
Also,
did anybody have any?
Also about law changes. So it's some of this is out of our control.
Right. Okay. Are we good with leaving that up to staff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And then that moves us to BP and AR 6159.1. That's special ed as well. I didn't have any notes. Does anybody? Okay. And then our last one, BP and AR 6159.2, non-public, non-sectarian school and agency services for special education. And I didn't have anything for that one either.
There was one optional paragraph on page 190, I think. Let me just see if I can find it.
Way at the end.
Yeah.
And I had one question too. I don't know if I can find it.
Okay, where is it? It was the superintendent shall notify the board prior to approving an out-of-state placement for a district student, and we already had that particular paragraph in our previous version. So,
and we actually have stricter bylaws for SELPA. So you don't get to just approve it unless the district pays for it. So anything with special ed, we work through our SELPA. SELPA is special education, local plan area. So.
Well, my only question was, it's on the last page. It's the second paragraph. It says, and I don't even think, it says at least once per year, the superintendent shall conduct an on-site monitoring visit to each NPS/A at which the district has a student attending. I mean,
we do that.
You go
We
out of
do
state?
it.
You've gone
So
out of
we-
state to check out? Okay,
So
I didn't know that.
we've had students in non-public schools, and we've actually done visits. I know I've done one for a student in a non-public school, and I know Carolyn has as well. So we do get to travel.
I was just making sure
And,
that
and,
we were
and,
doing
and
that.
I don't mean to make that sound fun. It's part of what we have to do, and we do it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to leave that one in as it was before. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions about the?
Mm-mm.
So as we know, Anna goes and does her magic, and then it comes back next month to for a formal approval, and then it goes up to the website. Okay. Any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right. Okay. All right. So advanced planning suggestions for future board member or board meetings. I just want to mention that come December, January, I don't know how people's calendars are. I guess that depends on whether we stay in the red or not, or go to the red. But we'll need to plan our annual retreat. So that is something that we should probably start thinking about. Anybody else have any future?
Would we be able to plan it while before the election?
No. Well, I mean,
before December, I should say.
Right.
Just because it seems like it'd be more meaningful with the current board. Because I remember being a new board member because I was appointed the first time, and nothing was very. I had to answer questions from my perspective, but not as a board member, so it was a little wonky. It wasn't as meaningful.
Well, that's the self-evaluation, but we have to go through the governance handbook, and
right.
I think we need to address online since we're here online, and I think we have a few things to discuss there, and then maybe even keeping the board chat. We've talked this morning that we would leave it virtual permanently, just because of the access for families, but we can think about that, mull that over, whether we should do the, and we'll know between the election and the December meeting, we could always, because I think we, the current board goes clear until the next person is installed on December. So we could hold the self-evaluation in November and then do the rest if we wanted to. So just kind of think about that as a board, how we want to do that. We'll kind of know in a couple weeks how that's going to pan out, so we can make that decision at that time. Okay. Anything else for future meetings, topics? Okay. All right. So housekeeping, again, it's one of my passions or soapboxes or whatever you want to call it, that we have a board member present at all events. So I don't think we need to be there for the end of the quarter. We have traditionally, where we're starting a new tradition, that the agenda setting person goes to the Three Rivers board meeting and the board chat. So I believe Scott is set to go. Okay, great. And then that same, oh no, it's 2 days later. Redwood Parents Club, is our Redwood person available for that? Diana, are you're available? Okay. And then Dana Gray is site council. It is in the middle of the day on October 29th. Jerry, that's probably hard for you to make, right? Because it's in the middle of the day.
It is, yeah.
Okay. I think I can do that one. I don't know what day of the week that is, but I'll figure it out.
It's a Thursday.
Okay. So I'll do that one. And then November 2nd is the Dana Gray ELAC. I did go to the last one of those. Does anybody else want to do that one?
November 2nd.
Oh, that's election day. No. Yeah.
Day before.
That's the 3rd. Sorry, I got so many dates. We've got them. Okay, I'll do that one. Oh, who said that? Okay, great, Jerry. Thank you.
Sure.
And then we have another middle of the day one, the Redwood ELAC.
I could do that.
Okay.
At 2?
Yes.
Yep.
And then November 10th is the middle school ELAC meeting.
I'll do that. I went to the last one. No, I didn't. I went to DLAC, but or I went to DLAC too. But anyway, yes, I'll do that.
Okay. All right, great. And then as things come up, we'll have to check the district calendar, and but we get the main ones. Okay. If there isn't anything further, I will turn it over to Jerry. Oh, Diana's got one.
I just wanted, it's crossed my mind a couple times, and I don't know if it has to be an agenda or how we handle it, but I know the board chats were really meaningful, and obviously no one needs to take minutes or anything, but maybe just if it's a new topic we don't know about, because the only benefit is I guess if you're the president, you're there at every one, but if there was a topic, it doesn't get pushed out what the topics are. So I don't really want to burden Becky with it, but I don't know if the president can just say, these are the 5.
And I've been really good about trying to talk about it at the meeting, and I totally flew by it tonight. I apologize.
Yeah.
So Anna, what about if we put board chat as just part of the superintendent report? It doesn't have to have a background sheet, but I'll just report out what was discussed. Would that work? And
well,
that way
I don't want to make a longer meeting, but just like if the president, is that okay for you to just say the 5 subjects that were talked about, and just so we know what's hitting the public, what's on. I mean, right now we know it's probably just reopening and hybrid and maybe.
So you want me to shoot an email out?
And non-responsive disinformation. I don't want to put more work on staff or make a longer meeting, but just so that we're all the board members are aware of topics. If if you had 2 board members that didn't want to talk about one of the topics that keeps coming up, we'd never know about it. That's all I'm for. Not that we're going to be ignoring anything, but
well, and I have to say I'm very excited that this is even an issue because there was nobody coming.
Yeah.
So now there's people coming.
Well, that's one blessing of distance learning.
Well, we had one parent who consistently came. God bless him. So it was great that he was there. So I appreciate it.
You know what? Maybe we should reach out to him and see if he can come join us because we haven't seen him. But what was I going to say before that when I was going to write something down?
Well,
to put it in the handbook. That's what I was going to do. As a president.
Okay.
Item. Sorry. I was going to future things. Okay. All right. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Okay. If there is nothing, Mr. Matson.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
Well, second.
Well, I'll second.
All right. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.